Okay, YouTube, I am back at it today. This is the 2nd of January. I actually worked on the 1st of January, but I lost that footage by accident. I have been working on the hydraulic reservoir. This is the unit that came off of this 300 combine, and I have cleaned it, disassembled it, and have been putting it back together slowly, the parts with the new seals, and I will go over that here in a minute. This is a spare reservoir from a parts machine. Everything in it was pretty well the same. One of the biggest problems I had was in both units, this lid or end came off of the strainer. Both were laying in the bottom of the reservoir. So I have fixed that, and I will show you what I did. These are just spare parts here for the unit, and we'll go over that fix now. So as you can see, we have two strainers here. This one, they both were identical. There is some kind of a sealant that they used that has failed 1975. I'm not disappointed in it. That's when it was put together. And obviously it was running without it. We just weren't being able to use the strainer effectively, but no one knew about it because it's in the bottom of the reservoir. So I have now cleaned this and degreased it, and I will tell you how I've installed it. I was really debating on maybe having it soldered at a radiator shop, but then the more I thought about it, obviously they had glued it. So what I did was I cleaned this thoroughly, no oil residue, and I used Toyota Seal Packing 103. It's like a gasket maker, like blue sealant gasket maker. The man that's helping me on a few things on this combine swears by this stuff. He says when you stick it on there, it will be on there. So that's what I did. I filled this crease here with a nice bead using the pointed tube, like caulking. Then I put it on there and I twisted it, set it in a vise for about 24 hours. I did it yesterday about this time, and put a 2 5/16 ball upside down as a weight and let it set. And I have not been able to pull that off, and I've put some heavy pull on it just to test it. So I think we're going to go with that. That's what originally it had, and if it comes off, I'm not really going to know about it. I just won't be using my strainer. I'm not going to go back in and check it, but I think we have a solution. I then proceeded to clean the reservoir inside and out and prep it for putting it back together, and I ran into a big problem. I had never been able to remove this nut, or I'm sorry, plug in the bottom of here. That is, I believe, a 3/8 MPT. And so what I had to do was, this had been all chewed up, you couldn't get it out. This is a new plug. I welded a nut on here. I thought the heat and everything would get it to come out. I literally twisted that off. You could not get it. So after I did that, I cut this off flush with a cutting wheel, and I started with a 1/8 drill bit down the center until I got real close to the edges. Then I welded another nut back on it. I threw them away since then. I had them in the trash can I was going to show you, but the trash got taken out by my nephew, which is fine. I'm glad he's helping. So I proceeded to drill this out till I got close to the edge, welded a nut onto the old one, and then that took the pressure off of the center. The center was removed, so it took the pressure off of the sides, and welded it on and just spun it right out. Then I chased that with a pipe thread tap, and so now we have the plug, a good plug to reinstall. So that was one issue I ran into yesterday. I also then proceeded to replace this gasket, and I ran into that this was really brittle and hard and came out in little pieces. So that took a while. I had to scrape all this out, clean it with a wire wheel, and then also it had been leaking, so people had just kept tightening the bolts and these were pulled inward. So I re-straightened them on an anvil and got that all nice and flat. And then I used my Toyota gasket making material, stuck a bead around there, smoothed it out with my thumb fingers, and then stuck the gasket onto it and let that seal overnight. So that now is prepped and ready to go. And that part number was 243278M1. That was gotten from the Massey dealer. I then proceeded to clean the cap for the reservoir and check out the seal. You want to clean these thoroughly. There was tons of bean pummy under the seal and packed in here. What this does, it allows the tank not to pressurize. There's a little hole right there. I don't know if you can see it. So that allows it to breathe, and it has a filter in there. I cleaned that with carbon choke cleaner, blew it out, and I believe that should be sufficient. That is your dipstick for the reservoir. So the first thing I'm going to do is reinstall my plug down here, because it can set nice and flat on my table right now, and that's what I'm going to do, kind of start from the bottom and move up. Okay, I put a little bit of thread tape, not much, but my goal is to have a dry combine. I don't like oily combines. They collect a ton of dust where the oil is, and they are prone to catch on fire. And there has been people that have burned up their combines. Even the newest ones catch on fire when bearings and gearboxes go out. You can find those on YouTube of the combines burning down. Okay, plug is installed, and that is completed. We're going to turn it over now, and makes it set a little bit unlevel, but we're going to now proceed to put in the strainer, which is this here. It gets a seal that goes on it, and then it turns. Look at your pictures, or have drawn an arrow to keep your orientation correct. You don't want to have it all together and it be over here. So that's what we're going to do. We'll probably retain the seal on both sides with some of our Toyota seal packing. And that actually is part number 230342M1 by AGCO. Okay, I have the strainer installed with the new seal. Put some of that gasket sealer on each side of the seal, and then I proceeded to tighten it up and keep the orientation correct, so when I go to reinstall the reservoir, everything lines up. We have our cemented with the gasket sealer cap back on the end of the strainer. Hopefully that will work, and we're ready to proceed now to the filter tower, which is that right there. Okay, this is the filter tower. That's what I'm going to call it. And you want to definitely, I'm doing a test fit here to show you, you want your orientation correct on that. You've got two lines heading back towards the cab. Your cab is over here, so you want to definitely keep that orientation. Take plenty of pictures, and it's always nice to have your old one to reference back to if you have the luxury of having a parts machine or parts. So that's very important. You don't want to be redoing this because you messed up your orientation. So this will obviously go down in there. We'll have a new seal here. Sorry. We'll have a new seal right here. Part number 228515M1. I'm going to put sealant on both sides, gasket sealer on both sides of that, just for extra precaution. And then you will have the washer. This will be on the bottom side of the lid. This will be here. You can see the old witness marks. And the nut, once that is in place. And so I will install that now. Filter tower has been installed. The orientation for the hoses for future installation is correct. Now we're going to put the filter on. And then we will put the top on the canister. Be the last thing we do. Okay, I'm going to talk about the filter here for a minute. The replacement filter is a Baldwin filter. You can still get these at Massey, but when I called the dealership, I don't remember exactly. I think they wanted like $80 for this. I could be wrong. It was a pretty high amount. Napa wanted a lot of money for them. So between Napa and the dealer or something, I got a Baldwin number, a PT277. And I decided to go on eBay, and there was a gentleman that had one in this damaged box, and I don't remember what he was asking for it, but I think I made him an offer of $11, and he took it. So I got a brand new filter that's going to work for this for $11. Keep that in mind when you're working on your combines and you're bringing them back. I heard a story one time of a man that was going to rebuild his combine. He went to the dealership and he ordered every bearing for the combine, and I think that totaled up over $3,000. And there is a lot of aftermarket and other bearing shops where you can get bearings and parts, and you can look on eBay and sometimes find the exact part you're looking for, and you can make them an offer. Or they'll just be listed at a good price and you can buy it now or bid on it, whatever you want to do. But what I'm getting at is there is options. You don't have to be, figuratively speaking, taken to the cleaners on parts for these. Some parts you do have to get from the dealer, but $11 versus $40, $50, I think it was $80 though. It was a tremendous amount from the dealer for that filter. And it's a Baldwin PT277. And so that's just the story on the filter. I'm going to now assemble the filter tower and finish this project. I did notice when I took this apart that right down here there was some of that glue like that was on the strainer around here and was up against here. Now the second unit I took apart, which was from the parts machine, did not have anything there. I'm going to put a little bit of my sealant on there. This is just like RTV, but I think it's better, or at least I'm going to try it out and see. So I'm going to do that, just a little bit here. A little bit goes a long ways. Assemble that. That'll be the top of the filter. Then I'm going to put the bottom of the filter on. You got your wing nut, you got your washer and your cotter key right there. Washer and cotter key. Okay, I have the filter installed right there. Got the washer, the cotter key, wing nut. Make sure that these little pop-offs here, or bypasses, whatever you want to call them, I don't know if you can see that or not, those spring upward if it probably has too much oil in it, and it was damaged right here, right there, and wouldn't allow that. I had to bend it back out. It wouldn't allow that to come up. So check those out before you put it back together. That way the oil can return into the reservoir as needed. clean reservoir, strainer installed, filter installed. We're ready to put the unit back together, and you'll notice that you have a little bit of orientation so you can line up down in there on the retainers that hold this cap on. So I'm going to put those on now, and then we will be finished. So one of the last things I did was inspected my bolts that hold the covers down, and they had old dried out rubber O-rings or washers, something like that. I couldn't quite tell. I think they were O-rings. I chose to cut some out of these rubber gasket material I have. Already had the hole in it I need. I just had to center up on it and make a washer, and it worked perfectly. So if you pick up one of these, a general professional 10-piece gasket punch set, well worth it. Okay, we have our top screwed down. Remember, you don't have to get crazy tight and pull the metal in. Just started to push my washers out a little bit. It was very snug and it worked great. You've got a gasket up under here, goes all the way around, that we put in with our sealant. You have to hold this firm but not crazy tight. That's what people do. It starts leaking. Well, tighter is better, not in every instance. So that is the reservoir. We have our dipstick, and we are ready to install the hydraulic reservoir on a Massey 300 combine. Hope you enjoyed the video. I will be moving on probably to exhaust, maybe.